Katherine Jakeways, the creator, writer, and executive producer of the series, says, "It's interesting hearing it called murder, but of course, it is murder. We spent a lot of time discussing if it would feel excessive and whether it was feasible in our fun-loving world. However, we had previously examined challenging subjects, and we gave careful consideration to whether it would be successful. In addition to ending the Seadown plotline, which has dominated much of the action since the season 1 finale, the decision to kill a character so fundamental to the plot, Richard's marriage to Conchita, Elisa Bow, launched the series, had the dual purpose of justifying the neglect of several other urgent plotlines, such as the cliffhanger from the previous episode in which Lizzie, Aubrey Ibrag, stood on the steps of the church debating whether to wed Hector, Jacob Ifen, or flee with Theo, Guy Remmers. In any case, she didn't choose either. However, the seriousness of this occurrence demanded a tone that was distinct from romantic hesitancy. Because they are all a gang and a sort of new family, Jakeways explains, it is kind of a hospital waiting room episode, where something big and awful has happened to one of them, but it feels like it's happening to all of them. Additionally, it was the first time since season 1 that the whole young cast appeared on film together. Executive producer Beth Willis continues, "The true delight for us in this episode is that they are all back together, but they have to leave all of their problems at the door. Everyone is watching Jinny. You're not discussing your life or your disagreement from yesterday if you're in a hospital waiting room. We simply thought that was a really fascinating way to explore all of the stress, since you're just concentrating on one thing." In season 1, Jinny fled to Italy to save herself and their son after Seadown's violent and domineering behavior destroyed their idyllic marriage. In the most recent episode, however, Seadown discovered her and took their child after failing to force her to return home. Returning to England with her gathered friends, Jinny finds pity in a reporter who assists her in spreading the word about Seadown's brutality. However, he uses the image of a frantic woman to have her institutionalized and then confined to their home after she confronts him violently in a theater. Jakeways claims that in order to appropriately elevate Seadown's last acts of abuse, he has already beaten Jinny and coerced her return. They collaborated closely with historians, domestic violence specialists, and Fishwick, a comedian. He emotionally tortures Jinny by keeping her son out of her grasp both at home and at the asylum in the hopes that her suffering will compel her to submit. She claims that he knows the law is on his side in episode 6. For him, that's the bottom line. We are happy that Jinny fled to Italy, but we had to explain why she was doing so and the legal situation, which said that the child she had not yet given birth to was not her property. Despite everything we've seen of what Seadown has done to her, she is his property, the baby is his property, and when she returns to England, she is the criminal. He has that arrogant attitude about things, and he's in the right. Despite the risk of upsetting her increasingly insane spouse, Jinny is nevertheless able to express what she is and is not prepared to have in their marriage. She tells him, "I am here," during a forced supper that is unpleasant. "I'll be your spouse. I'll let the world think I'm not suitable. I can't love you, though. I won't and I can't." He loses hope at that point, Willis claims. "I believe it destroys him, even though he then locks her in a bedroom and acts as though she isn't there when his family visits." Her words at that precise moment have a great deal of power. Only Seadown's siblings, Richard and Honoria, Mia Threppleton, think they can talk their brother out of this increasingly desperate scheme and release Jinny and her kid by the end of the episode. It offered a unique window into the Brightlingsea family's dynamics. In an earlier scene, Seadown tells his mother, Lady Brightlingsea, Fenella Woolgar, that he doesn't really care for his kid and that he is annoyed by their trip home from Italy. He lured Jinny back to him after taking him. His mother then shares her worries with Richard, even though she has been praising Seadown's actions thus far. "We were really excited about being able to have at least one scene of that," Jakeways adds. Then in the final scenes, we see how the sibling relationship is played out, which was something we hadn't seen before. However, viewers will only see one scene. The siblings laugh together under the pretense of a wellness check, much to the amusement of their unaware parents who preferred the dogs to their kids. They become close in an attempt to undermine Seadown's defenses. After that, Richard releases Jinny from her locked bedroom, and Honoria sneaks off to steal the baby. However, he remains behind to face his brother's fury, as he has since recovered his weapon. Richard tries to stop him from turning it on himself, but it appears he might.